A father emailed me to complain about the class pet, a hamster named Squeaky. He said his daughter was destined for greatness and that being exposed to a common rodent was beneath her. He suggested the class get a more aspirational pet, like a baby eagle or a miniature pony. He included a link to a website where you could apparently rent a pony for educational purposes. A parent sent a note with her daughter, asking if she could be excused from the history lesson on the Civil War. The note said, "The topic is too divisive and makes her uncomfortable. Can she please sit in the library and read about something more positive, like puppies or rainbows?" The student was in the 8th grade, and this was a key part of the American history curriculum. During our unit on evolution, a parent sent me a 10-page single-paced email explaining that we shouldn't be teaching it because her son had seen Jurassic Park and knew for a fact that dinosaurs and humans coexisted. She said the movie was basically a documentary and that scientists were just hiding the truth. She demanded I show the film in class as a more accurate source than the textbook. A dad called the principal to complain that the school's Wi-Fi was too slow. He said his son was trying to stream Netflix during my history lecture and it kept buffering. He wasn't mad that his son wasn't paying attention. He was mad that the school's poor infrastructure was interfering with his son's entertainment. A mother complained that her daughter was scared of the globe in my classroom. She said the sheer size of the world and the number of countries was giving her geographical anxiety. She asked if I could replace it with a map of just our state, or better yet, just our town, so her daughter would feel safer and more grounded. A mom complained that the school cafeteria's Taco Tuesday was culturally insensitive, not because it was stereotypical, but because her son was of Irish descent, and she felt it was excluding his heritage. She demanded that the school implement mashed potato Monday or corned beef Wednesday to make him feel more included in the weekly lunch menu. A parent called the school to complain that the school bus was yellow. She said the color was too bright and it hurt her eyes when she watched it drive away in the morning. She asked if we could repaint it to a more soothing neutral tone, like beige or taupe. The transportation director had to politely explain that the color of school buses is a matter of federal law for safety reasons. A dad emailed me after his son failed a spelling test, and the email just said, "This is unacceptable. My son is a visual learner, not a spelling learner. I still have no idea what that is supposed to mean." He then suggested that for future tests, his son should be allowed to draw pictures of the words instead of writing them out with letters. A father insisted his son, who was on the basketball team, should get an automatic A in math. His logic was that basketball involves calculating angles, trajectories, and statistics, so playing the sport should count as fulfilling his math credit. He called it kinetic mathematics and said the coach's approval should be enough to pass the class. A mother called me to say her son would be absent because he was experiencing a creative blockage and needed a mental health day. He was in the 2nd grade. She said he was an artist in spirit, and that the rigid structure of the school day was stifling his muse. She asked if I could send home some finger paints so his day off could still be productive. A mother demanded we change the school mascot, a bulldog, because she said it was promoting a sedentary lifestyle. She argued that a bulldog is wrinkly and lazy, and that we should have a more athletic mascot, like a cheetah or a gazelle, to inspire the students to be more active. She started a petition and called the local news about the unhealthy mascot crisis. A dad complained that his son was being bullied. When I investigated, it turned out the bully was a girl who beat his son in the school spelling bee. He claimed she was intellectually intimidating him and that it was a form of harassment. He demanded that she be disqualified and that his son be declared the winner to restore his academic confidence. A mom came to a conference to discuss her daughter's poor grades in Spanish class. Her solution was not for her daughter to study more, but for me to just speak English with a Spanish accent during class. She reasoned that this would be less confusing for her daughter and would still count, because it would have the right vibe. She then demonstrated by saying, "Hola, my name is Karen," in a terrible accent. A father showed up to the school in a rage because his daughter got a B+ on a paper about ancient Rome. He slammed a book on my desk and said, "She can't get a B+. We are direct descendants of Julius Caesar himself. It's in our blood." He then showed me a printout from a sketchy ancestry website as proof of his royal lineage. A mom sent her first grader at a school with a note pinned to his shirt that said, "My son does not eat vegetables. Do not attempt to serve him any. Give him his bag of chips instead. The school has a strict, healthy lunch policy." When the cafeteria staff gave him carrots, the mom showed up at school and started yelling that we were force-feeding her child poison. She called vegetables green sadness. A parent emailed the entire school staff to announce that her son would no longer be doing homework, ever. She said their family time in the evenings was sacred and was being ruined by pointless busy work. She attached a schedule of their nightly activities, which included gourmet dinner, emotional check-in, and aspirational vision boarding. Homework was not on the list. A mother came in for a conference and spent the entire time trying to sell me essential oils. She claimed that if I just diffused a focus blend in my classroom, all my students would get straight A's and my job would be easier. She then tried to recruit me into her multi-level marketing scheme, offering me a discount on the starter kit. A parent insisted that her child be exempt from all group projects. She explained that her son was a natural-born leader and that forcing him to cooperate with lesser minds would only hold him back. She said that instead of collaborating, he should be allowed to do the project alone and have the other kids in the group just watch and learn from his superior intellect. A father insisted his son be moved to the front of the class, not because he couldn't see, but because front-row people are more successful in life. He cited a blog post he read. When I explained the seating chart was alphabetical, he offered to legally change his son's last name to Arvar so he could sit in the front. He was not joking and even had the paperwork ready to show me. A mom demanded I change her son's grade from a 98% to a 100%. Because the lower score was damaging his self-esteem. I explained he missed one question on the test. She then suggested I should just remove that question from the test for everyone so he could have a perfect score. When I refused, she threatened to report me to the school board for emotional negligence and causing her son undue stress over a single math problem. A mother insisted her daughter couldn't have failed the math test because she had used a calculator with new batteries. She genuinely believed that fresh batteries somehow made the calculator more accurate and that any wrong answers must have been a machine error. She brought the calculator to the school and demanded our IT guy run diagnostics on it to prove her daughter's innocence. A parent demanded that we cancel the school's fire drill. Her reasoning was that the loud alarm was disruptive to the learning environment and caused her child unnecessary anxiety. She suggested that in a real fire, we could just send out a calm and respectful group text to all the students to let them know they should evacuate the building in an orderly fashion. A father called to ask if I could potty train his 7-year-old son. He said they had been too busy to get around to it at home and figured since I was a teacher, I must be good at that sort of thing. He offered to pay me an extra $50 a week to make sure his son was fully functional by the end of the semester. I had to explain that this was not part of the third grade curriculum. A mother sent her child to school with a note excusing him from PE for the rest of the year. The reason? He had just gotten a new expensive haircut, and she didn't want him to sweat it out. She attached a receipt from the salon, as if the $150 price tag was a valid medical reason. She suggested he could just supervise the other kids from the bleachers while he stayed cool and pristine. A dad asked if we could just not teach his daughter about the solar system because he didn't want her to know there were other planets. He believed she would lose focus on this one, and it would make her less patriotic. He suggested we just teach that Earth is the center of the universe, and everything else is just decoration God put in the sky for us to look at. A mother called me, furious that her daughter got a detention for dress code violations. The girl had worn a crop top that was basically a bra. The mother yelled, "It's a designer top. It cost $200. Do you know how many of your paychecks it would take to afford that?" She seemed to think the price of an item of clothing made it exempt from the school's clearly stated rules. She demanded an apology for my lack of fashion sense. A parent tried to get her son out of a detention for cheating by claiming he has collaborative learning syndrome, a condition she completely made up. She said his brain is just naturally wired to get answers from other people, and that punishing him for it was discriminatory. She even presented a fake doctor's note she had printed from the internet. I had a mom try to get another child suspended because he looked at her daughter with mean eyes during recess. She didn't claim he said or did anything, just that his aura was aggressive, and it was a form of psychic bullying. She demanded we bring in a spiritual counselor to cleanse the playground of negative energy, and asked if the other child's parents could pay for the service. A parent complained that her son got a C on his diorama of the Amazon rainforest. She came in to argue the grade, and when I showed her the project, a shoebox with a single plastic dinosaur in it, she said, "Exactly. It's minimalist. It represents the emptiness of the rainforest after deforestation. It's a political statement." The assignment was to show the biodiversity of the 4 layers of the rainforest. I had a parent insist her son Kevin was allergic to the number 7, not peanuts, not gluten, the actual number. She demanded that I avoid using it in any math problems on the board, or even saying it out loud. She claimed seeing the number 7 gave him numerical hives. I had to have a very surreal meeting with my principal to discuss how to accommodate an allergy to a prime number. At a PTA meeting, a parent proposed that we should get rid of all the books in the library written before the year 2000. Her reasoning was that anything that old is probably boring and irrelevant. She argued that kids would be more engaged if they were only reading books about YouTubers and TikTok trends. She called Shakespeare the ultimate boomer and said his plays were full of confusing old-timey words. A father tried to pay me $200 to give his son an A on his science fair project. The project was a volcano made of mud that didn't even erupt. When I refused the bribe, he got angry and said, "Fine, what's your price?" Everyone has a price. He then accused me of not supporting small businesses when I explained that teachers can't accept bribes for grades. During a parent-teacher conference, a dad told me his son couldn't possibly be failing history because, and I quote, "We are Americans, so we make history. We don't need to learn it." He was completely serious. He then spent 10 minutes explaining how his son's time would be better spent playing video games about war, as that was a more hands-on approach to understanding global conflict than reading a textbook. A parent sent her kindergartner to school with a full, professionally catered sushi lunch complete with raw fish, wasabi, and soy sauce. When we called her to explain that we couldn't let a 5-year-old eat raw fish that had been sitting in a warm backpack for hours, She accused the school of being culinarily uncultured.